Behold, the death by Bunjie Coral Snake. This is an arrow that I made, pretty much. It's a modified arrow. You've been watching some videos on that. It was originally a Wyvern Creations Dragon Claw arrow, 20 inches long, cut it down to 19 inches. And that 19-inch arrow gives me a little bit more maneuverability in the Killer Instinct SWAT X1. This with a 150 grain tip, whether it's a broadhead or a field point, and a Burt Coyote Lumenok, and the smaller Black Eagle vanes that I've got on here. Total arrow weight right around 480 grains. That's pretty cool. This video is about this arrow and how I made it, sort of wrapping it all up. And most importantly, this video is about how this arrow flies. Black Eagle Dragon Claw arrow. Goodbye Dragon Claws. We're going to remove the logo so we can replace it. Right? Why? Because it's fun. It's fun. Acetone. Now, acetone will take off this logo, but it's also a very powerful substance that can penetrate into the fibers of this carbon arrow and break down the epoxy. Right? Black Eagle will tell you, don't do this. And I'm telling you, you probably don't want to do this. Not a necessary thing to do. Absolutely not mandatory. But if we're going to remove the logo, we got to figure out how to do that. And we're going to use acetone or acetone or whatever you want to call it. That is the product that we are going to use to do that. Now, you'd want to wear gloves on this. Rubber gloves wouldn't be a bad idea. But what we're going to do is put some of that on this and before it dries out, we're going to go through here and just real quick, like rub this down, okay? And it is rubbing that, it will take that logo, it takes that right off, see? Real easy. This is the easiest way to do it, the best way to do it. You could sand it down, but again, you're removing the fibers you're thinning out that shaft. You're removing the fibers of the shaft. That's no good. That's no good. We don't want to do that. So instead, we are going to just carefully go through like this and get rid of all of this, okay? Get rid of all the remnants of that Dragon Claw logo, and you can see it is gone. I'm spinning that arrow, and it is gone. I got my fingers here, my hand here to protect those veins, because a little bit of this stuff will go a long way in reducing the glue on there. Also, we don't want that to happen. So we don't spill it. We'll put the lid back on the acetone, put that over there. We're gonna throw that rag away, that paper towel away, and we're going to grab this guy, okay, a fresh one, and we've got water here, and I was going to drink this water. I'm not now. I'm going to take it upstairs and wash the container is what I'm going to do. But we're going to carefully go through now with water, though, and get a couple of passes to where that acetone is now diluted or washed off. Okay, a few passes where that shaft now doesn't have any of that residue on there. And that will go a long way in protecting that shaft. Okay, look at that. Look at that, how pretty. What a beautiful shaft. Now, why on earth would you be taking the logo off these beautiful arrows? Well, the answer is simple. It really is. And it's because we have new arrows that we are going to design. Take one of our coral snakes through the Fletched arrow squaring tool from Lumenok. We just simply put it on here like this, okay? And I marked it so that the paint that I put on here is not going to interfere with the tool. I marked every one of them that way so that it's just before that. But all you do is you put this in here like this, just give it a quick turn like that, right? And all you're doing is squaring up that end a little bit against that pad right there. And what that does, that makes it so that Lumenok, when we put a lighted knock in place right here, when it fires, it will light right up, Lumenok style. Ta-da. Have you ever seen so many coral snakes all in one place? Got to keep my arrows on the deck, because if I put them on the railing, they're going to blow away. It blew over my well house. Those trees have been stood up several times, but man, they're not liking this wind. Breezy, breezy day here in the kingdom of Bunjie in the 60-yard backyard. Making my way down to the target to see how we did. I don't know how productive this is for a shooting experience. I really don't. I was aiming at the center on the morel target on each one. And I don't know. Actually, that's not that bad. For 21-mile-an-hour winds, to shoot that kind of a group at 60 yards, 59 yards it was, according to the Burris Oracle X scope. But that's my group. I kind of stopped shooting because I figured they were getting, they were all over the place. Kind of looking at them from up there, I can't really see them as well. But man, once you get down here, geez, for 21-mile-an-hour winds, that's pretty good. All of these are low. And when it is not breezy, and when I sit down before we go to Manitoba here, next weekend or some night this week, I'm going to shoot all these arrows. I'm going to sight that scope in perfectly, and we will see where we're at as far as that elevation is concerned. Because as you can see here in this target, we're looking 3 inches low or something at 60 yards. I suspect that is just where the scope's at. What a difference a day makes. So today it's like 70 degrees, almost no wind. So we're going to see what these arrows do now. I can leave the coral snakes right here on the railing, and they're not even going to blow away. 11 shots later, we have a whole bunch of lighted knocks. We're going to sit down and document what each of these arrows did. Oh, and we are going to write down if they need work on the knocks. Some of these, well, it's so bright out here, it's hard to tell, but some of them are lit, some are brighter than others. Real bright, not so bright, at least to my eye. But we're going to document the shots. First thing we notice is this, I want you to know, I shot all these arrows at this target before I adjusted the scope. And then I adjusted the scope, because if you look at these, they are all consistently, some of them are better than others, there's a bullseye there, but most of them trend left, trend a little high, and what I did is I adjusted the scope accordingly. Then I move over to here, and holy cow, bullseye, bullseye, and then just to the right a little bit. So I feel comfortable about our adjustments where we are at now. I really do. This incidentally is a hole, it's a band-aid I put on here as a joke to cover up the hole caused by the Raven R29X, the Black Widow. Yeah, because it blew through this target on its first test, and I realized that not all targets are created equal, and that's why we get the Kinetic 1.0 with no FPS limit. How's that for special effects? Only available here on Death by Bunjie. This one lost a vein. What's up with that? My cock vein is gone. I wonder if it's in a yard, or hope it's not still stuck in the SWAT X1. I don't think it is, because I've shot it several times since then. But I can just glue another one on there. I'll sand that down, clean it up a little bit, glue another one on there, no problem. That is what happens when you do this stuff yourself. But frankly, it happens with the arrows that I buy as well. I've had this happen straight from the manufacturer. It is what it is. Not a big deal. Just dab a little bit more glue on there. It looks like I had plenty on there. If anything, I probably had too much. I don't know. Who knows? We'll figure it out. Not a bad shot considering it didn't have a vein, or it lost a vein in flight. And that is my chicken scratch, and that is all I'm going to put down. For the most part, I have a record of what I did with my coral snakes, and now it's time to move out with these field points at 30-ish, 45-ish, and 60-ish, and true that scope in perfectly. My handy-dandy paint job seems to be surviving the targets better than all the fletchings did, at least. Where have we seen you before? Look at that little fella right there. I almost think I can glue that back on there. In fact, I will. Well, there's the ones I've been shooting, and there's the one that blew the vein off. Got a blinker. It's going to need to be run through the newly mounted F.A.S.T Fletched arrow squaring tool. Chrissy, you poor little cat. Look at this poor little cat. Isn't she precious? She's a real nuisance, though, aren't you? You're not a nuisance. You're a good little cat. All right, first shot. We are kaboom pretty good. I was shooting at the upper left. Looks like we hit the upper left square. I'm pretty happy with that for the first shot at 30. Here we are at the 30-yard line. They were off a little bit. As you can see, elevation was down a little bit to the right. I adjusted that, both the fixed, I moved it back to the left a little bit, and look how it corrected it for the third shot. I trued it at 30, adjusted the physical at 20, or at the, the fixed, and adjusted the windage, the physical adjustment of the windage, which you're supposed to do back up at 20. And I didn't have it dead on apparently, because when I adjusted it, man, look at that shot. Third one, dead on, trued perfectly at 30 yards. 60, not so bad. Look at that. We got one shot dead center. Another shot came off to the right, and that bottom shot's dead on. So we're pretty much dead on the bottom left. We're dead center, a little bit high on the big one there in the center. And then this guy, I was aiming right there, and I'm off to the right just a little bit. So a pretty good mix, but overall, I mean, those are dead on at 60 yards. So you can see here, number 9 is the one that was pushed right into the middle of the target. The veins went in there all the way, and as you can see, the veins are all right. Now this vein even was a little crinkly. But seems to have straightened out already. That's one of the reasons I like these veins. They will survive that kind of abuse a little bit better than the other veins that I've used. Same thing for going through an animal. They go through an animal, you gotta expect that they're gonna get a little bit abused. Now, before we take all these beautiful coral snakes and shoot them in the backyard with the Swa-hacker practice points here, we got to make sure that they're spinning correctly. When I spin the Swa-hacker broadhead or practice point on here, and I spin that, you can see that throws you for a loop, okay? Because it's not straight anyway. It is a chisel tip. And that chisel tip is not squared. It's going to make it look, it's like an optical illusion, makes it look like it's not straight. But that's not a bad one, okay? And that's one of the reasons why I try to do it on here. It's hard to film it and do it, but you get the idea. So if I'm spinning this, how does that go in relationship to, I'm moving the camera, so it's not that good. But when you do this on your own, you'll see what I mean. When you're spinning this, you can really see a lot better whether that broadhead is wandering on there, whether it's going back and forth. But these tips go through a lot of abuse, and you want to make sure that these are going to spin. This thing is like cheap, right? Death by Bunjie gear page, mentioned it in a previous video in this series. But if you have one of these things, you can spin your arrows ahead of time. And now we know that it should fly straight, okay? Because this is a pretty square one. So I'm going to set that one aside. I'm happy with that one. We'll load up another one and just go through all of them. Load them up with tips, go shoot them in the backyard. Are you helping? What are you doing? Here is an example of one that you would probably expect to have a little problem. This has been in the mud, okay? Chances are if it's been in the dirt, it's hit a rock or something. If we put this on here, okay, and spin this one, I'll try my best to hold it steady. That baby's wandering. Do you see that? That tip is all over the place. Not just the very tip, but the front end of that shaft. This is bent, I will throw it away. This will not give you very good accuracy in the backyard. It's going to make you think, what's wrong with my crossbow? So throw this away. Don't keep it. There's no reason to keep it. Now, what I am going to do, I'm going to back this little screw out and keep that screw. I'm going to take this tip off, because if that can be put on another broadhead later on down the road, I do rebuild these, okay? And I do keep them and save them. But if I keep the parts, now maybe I've got more parts if I need them. On the other hand, if I put this on another one and spin it and it's broken or bent, that goes away, it goes in the garbage. But I do keep the little parts of these things. So that little screw, if I can get that screw out of there, then maybe I will keep that, and I keep that little tip for sure. In this jar, you can see I've kept other ones. Alrighty, we are lined up. We got a Swa-hacker practice point on the end of that on our coral snake arrow. And we got the X1 here, the yet unnamed SWAT X1, all set up, ready to go. I'm going to do 32 yards. That's our first one on bolt 2. Now what I've done, I've just switched it from bolt 1, so I'll always be sighted in perfectly for my field points on this crossbow. I just switch back to bolt 1 when I'm shooting field points. When I'm shooting broadheads, I switch over to bolt 2, and that's what I'm going to do now. I'm actually going to true it and sight it in at 32, 45 or so, and 60 or so yards with the practice point. And that way, once we get done, we can be sure that we're going to be good to go with our broadhead of choice when we go to Manitoba. What a sweet crossbow this is. Wow. We are at 30 yards, and with this arrow set up, I can tell you, right there on that target, if you look, that's a bullseye. I'm not even going to adjust it. I accepted that as perfect for truing at 30 yards with bolt 2, truing setting 1. If I hadn't already sighted in with field points, I would, shoot a few more there to make sure. But because I have the confidence from the field points, I feel pretty good about that these are all going to perform the same. And because all of the arrows perform the same, and it's the right elevation, and for a practice point to hit that good, I'm pretty solid on that. I'm happy with that. So now we're going to move right out there to 45 yards. All right, you can see once we drop that in its place using this little lever right here, once we drop that in its place, we now have a broadhead, or in this case a broadhead practice point, that stays within these rubber feet right here. So when I set this down in a tree stand in Manitoba, that broadhead is not going to interfere. It's not going to go past that. But it also, the entire shaft is sticking out of the barrel, okay? And the entire broadhead is contained within this, so I am protected. I'm not going to be touching the broadhead or getting it caught on something. Train is going by. But we'll talk anyway. First shot right here. I was aiming right here. We hit right here. I'm happy with that. And for what we're doing here, I'm not shooting past 30 yards anytime soon. So I'm pretty happy with that as a second shot. I think we're pretty good at 30 yards. 43 or 44 yards, it ranged it a little differently each time. But this was the first shot. It was a little bit low, as you can see. I trued it up and then it went to here. I'm happy with that. I know I'm shooting somewhere in that mix. They're both consistent as to windage pretty much as well. I'm good with that. Again, I'm confident about this because I got better performance out of the field points and I felt good about that. So we're in good shape at 45 yards. So at 60 yards, you got a little bit different issue, don't we? A little bit of a windage problem, I would say. Won't be shooting that far. I know my gear now. I am comfortable with it. I'm familiar with it, right? It's the value of shooting one gun. I talk about that in my book, The Death by Bunjie Crossbow Story. I also talk about that in my second book, The Death by Bunjie Crossbow Method. But we know our gear, right? We shoot one gun. Now, if you look, first one's a little bit high. I trued it down. We got the windage correct, or we got the elevation a lot better because we are now in the mix of hitting that circle on the left there, that baseball-sized circle on the left. But the windage way off. This could be me. This could be me. We will work on that throughout the summertime before we get into deer season, though, won't we? But this won't hurt us in Manitoba whatsoever. Those coral snakes look pretty cool, don't they? Little side note here. George, you can come and get your arrow anytime you want there, buddy. I'm keeping it for you, okay? I'm saving it for you. George is not the first person to hit the 60-yard cherry. It is probably getting close to the end of legal shooting hours. To my naked eye, it is a lot darker than what you see here, but isn't that a beautiful sight? 11 yards and 44 yards. Our next video, we're going to be doing some stuff on the Manitoba bear hunt. I've got a look at a new Raven crossbow coming your way. Got some really cool videos here on Death by Bunjie. But man, am I excited to see what these do in the field. All hail Bunjie.